Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping in for a culinary quest, really, into the world of intensely desired flavors. We're
Hmm.
talking about the recipes people seek out, the ones they trade, the ones they try to recreate at home, sometimes. Well, sometimes to absurd
It's a
lengths.
genuine obsession.
It is. We're
Yeah.
talking about those specific craveable tastes that define a meal. It could be the perfect drizzle on a really high-end salad or, the savory core of a holiday dinner.
And this collection of material, it's more than just a recipe book. It feels almost like an ethnographic study of that obsession.
That's a great way to put it.
It really proves that a truly most wanted recipe isn't just about technical mastery. It's about an emotional connection.
Right, to comfort food, to family traditions.
And maybe most surprisingly, to corporate fast food favorites. The material is so diverse, it crosses continents, it crosses culinary categories, and it all reflects this universal hunger to, reverse engineer satisfaction.
Reverse engineer satisfaction. I love that. And that is exactly our mission today. We're going to analyze the stack of sources, grouping them by flavor profile, by technique, to unlock their secrets.
Okay, so where are we starting?
We'll start with the creamy classics, really analyzing that balance of fat and acid. Then we'll pivot into sharp vinaigrettes and some really long-term flavor infusions.
Okay.
And after that, we're plunging into these surprisingly detailed sections on savory sides, stuffings, the original dressing, and then finally, those truly technical, sweet copycat treats.
There's a lot to unpack there.
A lot of flavor to unpack. So let's jump right into section one, the buttermilk dynasty and creamy classics.
Okay, so this first section, it's all about achieving that distinct, rich mouthfeel, right? And that tangy complexity you get from dairy-based dressings.
Exactly. And for the home cook, what's the main challenge here?
Well, in these recipes, the challenge is always balancing three essential components.
Mm-hmm.
You have the stability that comes from fat, the cutting edge you get from acid, and then you need this really intense layer of seasoning, otherwise the whole thing just tastes heavy.
Right. It becomes cloying. And speaking of heavy, when we talk about heavy hitters, this first one, the blue cheese dressing, it just sets the tone immediately.
Oh, absolutely. The ingredient list,
Yeah.
it is not subtle. It's designed for maximum structural richness.
It starts with, what, a full pint of Best Foods mayonnaise as the base?
A full pint? I mean, that's nearly 400 milliliters of mayonnaise.
That is not a background ingredient.
No, not at all. It's the entire architecture of the dressing. And that sheer volume of mayonnaise, it establishes two things right away.
What are those?
First, an expectation for a dense, highly stable, and, super rich dressing.
Mm-hmm.
And second, the understanding that every other ingredient has to work really hard to cut through all that fat.
Because if you just blended blue cheese into that much mayo, it would just be a blob of fat.
It would be cloying, yeah.
Yeah.
So you look at the flavor balancers, which are specified down to these tiny fractions,
Like 1/8 of a large onion minced finely.
and one finely minced garlic clove. It's so specific. These provide those sharp, volatile allium notes that release slowly and really counter the richness of that fat base.
It's like flavor insurance against monotony.
That's a great way to put it. And the acid profile is just as crucial, but it's complex. They're not just using one type of acid,
No, we've got 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice.
which gives you that bright citric acid punch,
And then it's combined with a 1/4 cup of wine vinegar.
which offers a deeper, more fermented grape acid. The interplay between those two acids is what keeps the dressing dynamic and bright, not just sour.
But then they introduce something that feels counterintuitive, these sweet and savory elements.
Right, 1 tablespoon of sugar.
Which you might think is unnecessary given all the richness, but you need it, right?
You absolutely need it. It's essential for rounding out the harshness of that wine vinegar. And then there's this tiny, very specific amount of savory depth,
1/8 of a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce.
plus a pinch of salt. That Worcestershire sauce is so often the secret weapon in recipes like this.
Why is that? What's it doing in there?
Well, it's a fermented condiment, so it brings this incredible depth, an instant umami hit, without really changing the texture or the color. It works in partnership with that little bit of sugar to create a completely balanced flavor profile where no single component shouts over the others.
And the preparation notes are just as fascinating. It specifically emphasizes the manual crumbling of the cheese.
Yes, that tells you so much. It suggests that the recipe developer didn't want a homogenized, smooth sauce.
They wanted texture.
They explicitly desired textural variation.
Mhm.
They wanted those pockets of intense, creamy, salty blue cheese flavor. You need that contrast.
So the whole mixture has to be thoroughly beaten until blended, which makes sense for the mayo base, but then, and this is crucial, it's refrigerated for 1 to 2 hours before you serve it.
And that chilling time is completely non-negotiable. It allows that high-fat mixture to firm up, to get the correct, dense, almost restaurant-quality consistency.
Okay, moving on from that, it's clear that buttermilk is the other cornerstone of American creamy dressing. It appears in several distinct formats in this collection. We're calling it the buttermilk family.
And what makes buttermilk so essential in these highly desired recipes? It's a chef's best friend, really,
How so?
because it offers dual functionality. It gives you creaminess from its remaining fat content, but it also delivers this strong lactic tang, an acid profile that commercial mayonnaise often lacks. It's just so versatile.
Like in the buttermilk and cucumber dressing, which leans really heavily into freshness.
Exactly. That recipe uses 1.5 cups of buttermilk combined with a seeded and chopped medium cucumber. So the flavor notes here are pivoting away from those heavy, savory notes of blue cheese toward something cooler.
Yeah, almost spa-like.
And the spices reflect that intention. You have 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of dill weeds, and 2 teaspoons of horseradish.
And the horseradish there, it's not just for heat, is it?
No, it's providing a sharp, volatile lift. And all the ingredients are pureed in a food processor until they're well combined. That instruction tells us they're aiming for a smooth, homogeneous texture where that freshness is integrated, not chunky.
Okay, so if the cucumber dressing is a spa treatment, then the buttermilk dressing on page 8 is, I don't know, a flavor equivalent of a rocket launch.
Yes, this is a much richer, highly seasoned, engineered version. It uses 2 cups of mayonnaise alongside 2 cups of buttermilk.
A perfect 50-50 volume split.
Right, between fat stability and lactic acid tang. And here's the element that genuinely signals the intent to maximize craveability, and it separates this recipe from almost all the others.
Secret weapon.
The inclusion of half a teaspoon of MSG, monosodium glutamate.
Okay, let's pause on that. For you listening, the MSG inclusion is not accidental. It is a very deliberate choice to amplify savory notes. When a home recipe includes MSG, what does that tell us about what the creator is trying to achieve?
It tells us they are chasing the ultimate umami depth. MSG acts synergistically with salt and savory ingredients, and it boosts their flavor far beyond what salt alone can do.
So it's mimicking the flavor base you'd find in professionally engineered high-volume foods.
It's the instant shortcut to that fifth taste sensation. And the rest of the seasoning load confirms this pursuit of intensity.
It's a lot. 1 3/4 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of onion seasoning, half a teaspoon of garlic seasoning.
And 2 1/4 tablespoons of flaked parsley. It's an incredibly high concentration of these savory powders, which, when you combine them with the MSG, must just provide a huge punch of flavor.
And that's cut only by the visual appeal and, let's be honest, the minimal flavor of the fresh parsley flakes.
And the sheer stability and longevity of this recipe are also really notable. The instructions say it can be stored in the fridge for 2 to 3 weeks after an initial 4-hour chill.
2 to 3 weeks.
I know. That heavy seasoning, combined with the volume of stable fats from the mayonnaise, gives it an extended shelf life that feels almost commercial grade. It's designed to be made in bulk and just last.
Wow. Okay, then we see the buttermilk mayonnaise, which introduces a really interesting piece of kitchen technology. Gelatin.
Yeah, they use a half teaspoon of granulated gelatin, soaked in a tablespoon of ice water, and then dissolved over boiling water. Why would you bring gelatin into a dressing?
That's my question. It seems so out of place.
It's all about texture control. Unlike flour or cornstarch, gelatin sets up without becoming cloudy or requiring a lot of heat once it's mixed in. Dissolving it first ensures it disperses evenly.
So it's just a desire for a much stiffer, more stable texture.
Exactly. Closer to a very thick, almost sliceable sauce, or even like aspics you see in older, more technical preparations. It's not a free-flowing dressing.
And the flavor profile is kept pretty clean. Dried mustard, fresh parsley, finely chopped onions. The method is interesting too. You combine the ingredients, chill it until it's thickened.
And then you gently beat it smooth before folding in the parsley. That last step of beating it after it's chilled is to break up that gelatin network, just enough to make it spreadable but still firm.
It's real precision work.
It is. And finally, in this family, we have the buttermilk mustard dressing, which focuses intensely on citrus zest for brightness. This is a much lighter, thinner dressing. It's a half cup of buttermilk and a 1/4 cup of plain yogurt, so the fat is minimized.
Which means the flavor has to come from aromatics.
And the citrus is the undisputed star here. 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard paired with 2 teaspoons each of grated orange peel and lemon zest.
That is a significant amount of zest. So why use zest instead of just juice?
Zest contains the volatile oils, which are far more potent and aromatic than the juice alone. Zest delivers this clean, high note of flavor that brightens the entire dressing without adding a lot of extra liquid or acidity.
And they specifically call for white pepper.
Yeah, and that's a conscious decision to avoid the visual specks of black pepper, which emphasizes a clean, light aesthetic.
That attention to detail, from avoiding pepper specks to dissolving gelatin, that's what separates these most wanted recipes from just casual, everyday recipes.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's transition. We're moving from the comfort of creamy American classics to Section 2, global inspirations and savory dressings.
And here we see a really dramatic shift in technique. We move away from large volumes of dairy and fat and more toward vinaigrettes and mayonnaise-based dressings that rely on specific regional spices and sometimes these intense long-term infusion methods.
The commitment level of the home cook definitely increases here.
Dramatically.
We start with Cajun flavors, looking at two very distinct preparations. First, the Cajun mayonnaise, which surprisingly is a health-conscious approach.
It is. It uses half a cup of non-fat yogurt alongside half a cup of reduced-calorie mayonnaise.
But the flavor is where the Cajun character is really built. The spice blend is small but potent.
2 pinches of black pepper, 2 pinches of cayenne for heat, a quarter teaspoon of ground cumin, a quarter teaspoon of garlic salt, and half a teaspoon of crumbled dry oregano.
And the required chill time here is a full 24 hours before you serve it. That long chill isn't just for cooling, is it? Why is that necessary for this specific spice blend?
It's absolutely critical for hydration and flavor integration. Dry spices, especially the cumin and oregano, can be harsh and powdery when you first mix them in. A full day allows them to fully hydrate and release their volatile oils into the moisture of the yogurt and mayonnaise.
So the flavor becomes deep and rounded, not gritty or sharp.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, contrast that process with the Cajun vinegar, which is a completely different kind of preparation. It's a long-term flavor infusion.
This feels less like a quick recipe and more like creating a foundational artisanal component for your pantry.
It is a commitment. The ingredients combine 4 quartered jalapenos and a tablespoon of coarsely crushed black peppercorns with a small amount of red wine vinegar,
Just 2 teaspoons.
plus a full wine bottle's worth of additional red wine vinegar.
And the process is so unique. You combine the ingredients in an enameled pan and heat it until it boils. Then you pour it into a jar and set it aside for 6 days.
6 days. It's an eternity in home cooking time.
What's happening during those 6 days?
It's the definition of infusion. Heating the mixture first helps accelerate the extraction of flavor compounds from the jalapeno and the peppercorns. It breaks down their cellular walls. Then, allowing it to steep for 6 days ensures that those potent capsaicin pepper oils fully permeate the entire vinegar base.
And the steps after that are so meticulous. It has to be passed through a clean cheesecloth to strain out the solids, poured into a dry, clean wine bottle, covered with a cork, and then stored in a dry, cool place.
You're essentially creating a shelf-stable, customized chili vinegar for future use. This technique is all about building flavor layers over time. The home cook is investing 6 days to create a secret weapon.
A secret weapon that can elevate any vinaigrette or marinade instantly.
Precisely.
Okay, next up, we have a fascinating study in variation with the Chinese chicken salad dressings. 3 distinct versions, and they really illustrate how the core idea of a recipe can be interpreted completely differently.
Right, depending on the creator's pursuit of complexity and intensity.
Version 1 is the starting point, maybe the most westernized version.
It's a simple vinaigrette. A tablespoon each of sesame oil and vegetable oil, 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 3 tablespoons of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and sesame seeds. It hits the basic sweet and sour notes quickly and efficiently.
But version 2 immediately ramps up the savory and nutty profile. It incorporates 3 tablespoons of dry sherry,
Which adds a deep, slightly oxidized, nutty depth. And we also see 2 tablespoons of hoisin sauce and 3 of soy sauce, plus a half teaspoon of grated fresh ginger.
The shift there is dramatic.
It is. Hoisin sauce brings those complex fermented bean paste flavors and richness. Soy sauce adds salinity and umami. The combination just instantly shifts the flavor matrix toward a darker, richer, more complex savory profile than the simple sweet tang of version 1.
And that fresh ginger gives it a little aromatic heat.
It lifts the dense sauces. But
Yeah.
then you get to version 3, which is the maximalist approach. This one is high volume, intense flavor, clearly designed for impact.
It uses 1 cup each of dark sesame oil, soy sauce, and balsamic vinegar. a full cup of each. That's a truly massive, aggressive volume for a salad dressing base.
And that choice of balsamic vinegar, which is thick and sweet and highly acidic, instead of the light, crisp rice vinegar from version 1, completely changes the texture and the flavor expectation.
But the real intensity comes from the heat and the allium load.
It's incredible. It includes 1 tablespoon of Lei hot flavored oil.
Which for you listening is chili oil, often infused with aromatics like Sichuan peppercorns or dried chili flakes.
Paired with a staggering 4 tablespoons of chopped fresh garlic.
4 tablespoons, that's almost a quarter cup of raw chopped garlic. Is that necessary? Or is the recipe overcompensating for something?
I think that is the quintessential home copycat move. When you can't replicate the deep, integrated, pulverized flavor profile of a commercially prepared product, which might use garlic powder and stabilizers, you overcompensate with raw, aggressive, fresh ingredients.
So that volume of garlic, combined with the heat of the Lei oil, makes it this powerfully aromatic, punchy dressing designed to just scream flavor.
It ensures every single bite is dominated by allium and heat.
That analysis makes a lot of sense. So the 3 versions show a progression from simple westernized sweetness to incorporating fermented ingredients and finally to just maximizing raw, aggressive flavor intensity.
And we also see some intriguing European-inspired techniques in this section that emphasize preparation over ingredient novelty. Take the cream dressing for cucumbers.
Oh, right. The critical step here is dewatering the cucumber first.
Yes, the cucumber is pared and thinly sliced, sprinkled with salt, and then refrigerated for 2 hours. Then the instructions require rinsing it 2 or 3 times in ice-cold water to completely wash away the salt before you mix it with the sour cream and paprika and vinegar.
So what's that process doing? It's a classic European technique, right?
It is, and it achieves 2 crucial things. First, it concentrates the flavor of the cucumber. But more importantly, it prevents the final dressing, which relies on the stability of sour cream from becoming thin and watery.
Because the salt would draw out moisture.
Exactly. Salt draws moisture, and you need to preemptively remove that moisture to maintain the dressing's integrity. It's not just about crunch. It's about structural stability and preventing the emulsion from breaking down.
That is a truly informed technique.
And finally, in this section, we have the La Chatelaine salad dressing, which offers this odd, highly specific mix of manufactured ingredients and fresh components.
It calls for 2/3 of a cup of real mayonnaise, 2 tablespoons of wishbone Italian dressing, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of dill pickles juice.
The reliance on commercial products, the wishbone dressing, the pickle juice, it shows the home cook is trying to shortcut their way to a recognizable, complex, pre-seasoned flavor.
But the technical step is what really sets this one apart. This dressing is placed in a bain-marie,
A water bath.
sprayed with non-stick spray, and then cooked above gentle heat before it's chilled.
The bain-marie is key. Cooking a mayonnaise-based dressing is highly unusual and very risky if you don't do it correctly. Since the recipe calls for a whole, large egg, this gentle heat likely serves to do 2 things at once.
Okay, what are they?
It lightly cooks the egg to stabilize the emulsion further against future separation, and maybe it slightly pasteurizes it as well.
So this bain-marie step isn't about flavoring the dressing at all. It's a structural necessity to achieve a specific, resilient, maybe even silkier texture that simple whisking can't provide.
Exactly. It's gentle, controlled heat applied specifically to stabilize a very delicate egg emulsion, a quest for stability and sophistication.
Now that we've covered the thick, the tangy, the infused, and the cooked liquid dressings, let's explore section 3, hot, sweet, and unexpected dressings. We're looking at recipes that either use literal heat in preparation or rely heavily on fruit and sweeteners.
We begin with a hot salad dressing, which is a perfect example of traditional, resourceful cooking. It's a cooked dressing that uses bacon drippings and an egg yolk for thickening.
A classic method for creating richness and body without relying on store-bought cream or huge amounts of oil.
The process starts by heating 1 tablespoon of bacon, dripping with a teaspoon of flour, basically creating a foundational roux. Then vinegar is added until the mixture thickens.
But the crucial step involves the seasonings. They're added and cooked for 4 minutes with the mixture.
That initial cooking step not only builds the thick sauce base, but it also ensures the dry mustard, salt, pepper, and sugar bloom in the hot fat. Blooming spices in hot oil or fat intensifies their flavor dramatically.
But the truly technical part is the egg tempering. The hot mixture is poured slowly onto the beaten large egg yolk while whisking continuously, and then it's immediately placed back above the heat to cook again for just 1 minute. Why that specific 1-minute cooking time?
That precise, brief moment of heat is necessary to thicken the dressing using the egg yolk proteins without scrambling them. Tempering prevents the yolk from cooking too fast, and that 1 minute of subsequent heating is just enough to activate the thickening property of the yolk.
And you end up with a distinctively savory, rich, and slightly warm flavor that would be fantastic on wilted greens or a warm potato salad.
That's a very hands-on process that delivers a flavor profile you just can't get with a cold dressing.
Okay, next we examine the dressings focused heavily on honey and sugar. This highlights how intense sweetness is used to create these highly desired familiar flavor profiles. The honey French dressing is a fantastic illustration.
It contains a staggering amount of sugar, 2/3 of a cup of refined sugar, and 1/3 of a cup of pure honey.
That's a lot of sweetener, and it's combined with 5 tablespoons of vinegar and 1 cup of oil, which is gradually added while beating constantly but gently.
The instruction to beat constantly and gently while adding the oil is the classic technique for achieving a stable emulsion. In this case, the extremely high sugar and honey content is actually critical for stabilization.
How does that work?
Sugar is a hydrophilic molecule, so it helps bind the water phase of the vinegar and the oil phase together, preventing them from separating.
So it's not just for taste, it's structural. And to counterbalance that aggressive sweetness, they load it with savory and aromatic notes. Celery seeds, dry mustard, paprika, salt, grated onion, and lemon juice.
The celery seeds provide that signature herbaceous crunch, ensuring the dressing is complex, not just sweet oil.
We also see this in the cantaloupe cooler salad, where the poppy seed dressing is the clear highlight. It uses 1/3 of a cup of honey, 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil, a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of poppy seeds.
All blended on low speed for half a minute. But the genius here is the construction of the final salad.
Right. It's arranged on lettuce leaves, and it's topped with crumbled cooked bacon, a full ½ pound of it, and sliced cantaloupe.
The sweet poppy seed dressing complements the fruit, and that massive amount of salty, crunchy bacon provides the critical savory counterpoint. It makes the entire dish balanced and totally craveable.
Shifting to dressings that rely on natural sweetness and unique emulsification, we have the honey yogurt dressing. This recipe uses a very surprising structural ingredient.
Firm tofu.
A 1/4 cup of drained firm tofu is processed with lemon juice, honey, ground cumin, and salt until it's completely smooth. The texture of the final dressing must be remarkably light yet stable.
Tofu, when you puree it, acts as an excellent low-fat protein emulsifier. It stabilizes the dressing and adds bulk without contributing heavy flavor. It's a clever, modern substitution for heavy cream or excessive oil.
Then there is the pineapple mustard salad dressing, which uses a different surprise emulsifier. The base is fruit juices, a cup each of apple and orange, and ½ a cup of pineapple pieces, but the ingredient providing that smooth texture.
A 1/4 piece of ripe, peeled avocado.
What's the avocado doing in there?
Avocado is perfect for achieving smoothness. It blends down into this creamy, luscious texture thanks to its natural fat content, so it eliminates the need for dairy or large amounts of refined oil. And the flavor profile is kept tangy and savory by 2 teaspoons of prepared mustard and ½ a teaspoon of tamari.
So the tamari here isn't just for salt, it's providing that essential savory umami depth, which you need to balance the intense fruit sweetness. The avocado gives it body, and the tamari gives it complexity.
Exactly. And before we move on, we have to analyze the Indian mayonnaise dressing, which requires a lengthy cooked flavor base. This is completely different from the rapid blender dressings we just discussed.
This recipe begins by heating oil ghee, or corn oil, with curry powder, finely chopped onion, a piece of chopped ginger root, and cayenne. This mixture is cooked slowly for 5 minutes.
And then, crucially, it's removed from the heat to cool completely. This slow heating creates a masala, a foundational cooked flavor base. It blooms the curry powder, extracting all the complex flavors from the ginger, onion, and cayenne.
And why is the cooling step so important? You can't skip it, can you?
You absolutely cannot, because the next step involves adding the mayonnaise base, half and half, or yogurt, tomato paste, and mango chutney. If that spice mixture were hot, it would instantly break the mayonnaise emulsion.
You'd have a curdled, oily
A
mess.
complete mess. Cooling allows those integrated spices to be folded into the creamy base smoothly. The chutney brings fruit, sweetness, and complexity, and the dairy lightens the mayonnaise a bit. It's a very thoughtful, multi-step process.
It really shows the lengths people will go to achieve a restaurant-quality complexity, even if it involves multiple heating, cooling, and blending stages.
For sure.
Okay, let's turn the page and explore Section 4, the deep dive into savory sides and stuffings. We've spent a lot of time defining dressing as a liquid sauce, but the source material reminds us that in classic culinary tradition, dressing also referred to a savory bulk filling, especially for poultry.
That semantic shift is so vital to understanding the breadth of this collection. These recipes aren't for drizzling. They're foundational flavor carriers that are cooked inside or alongside the main dish.
Let's start with the classic bread stuffing or dressing, intended for a 10-pound turkey. The base is 4 cups of dry cubed bread moistened with a cup of hot turkey stock.
And the character of this stuffing relies almost entirely on a robust, very carefully measured herb mix. 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground sage, half a teaspoon of dry thyme, a quarter teaspoon of marjoram, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of basil.
That precise ratio of herbs is what gives it that signature poultry seasoning flavor, that hallmark earthy, savory holiday taste we associate with Thanksgiving.
It's a straightforward classic approach, but contrast that immediately with the celery stuffing, which focuses heavily on richness through fat. This recipe uses a full 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter.
That's nearly a quarter cup, and it's used to cook 3 cups of diced celery and 2 tablespoons of chopped onion until they're tender.
The cooking of the aromatics in fat first is non-negotiable here. That process releases the flavor compounds of the celery and onion and ensures they're soft and rich before they hit that massive volume of stale white breadcrumbs, 1.5 pounds.
And the final moistening agent is a cup of milk or cooking giblets broth. Using giblets broth, if you have it, would introduce an even deeper layer of savory, meaty umami.
It would elevate the flavor profile significantly over just milk. It's designed to be a deeply rich, satisfying stuffing.
And then we have the unexpected low-calorie apple dressing, a fruit and herb stuffing option. It combines chopped apple, celery, and green onion with sage and thyme.
But the method here is structurally different and speaks directly to that low-calorie claim. The mixture is spooned onto a glass baking dish, covered with foil, and baked at 325 degrees for half an hour before being stuffed into the bird.
That pre-baking step is fascinating. What does baking the fruit and herb mix accomplish without using the traditional fat-heavy method of cooking aromatics in butter?
It's a really clever substitute. The heat softens the apple pieces and allows the herbs to bloom and release their volatile oils, activating their flavor, all while relying on the moisture from the apple and celery, not from added fat.
So the mixture is flavorful and soft when it hits the turkey cavity, ensuring it doesn't dry out during the final cook.
Exactly.
Okay, moving away from poultry, we have the baked side dish, cheese grits, hotter. This recipe has a specific focus on achieving a rich, creamy custard structure.
The process is meticulous. A cup of grits is cooked in salt garlic seasoned water. Once it's off the heat, a half cup of unsalted butter is stirred in. Then half the grated cheddar cheese and 3 eggs are added and mixed thoroughly.
It's absolutely a custard base. The eggs are the setting agent. The butter and cheese provide the richness.
Yeah,
It's then transferred to a baking dish, but the final flourish is what gives it the hotter label.
right. Lots of shredded Parmesan, a dusting of paprika, and a garnish of jalapeno pepper slices before baking.
And that lower oven temperature, 300 degrees F, and the slow 45-minute bake time, that's critical, isn't it?
It is. It ensures the egg proteins set up slowly and gently. This prevents the grits from separating or becoming tough or scrambling. It guarantees a creamy, stable, cheesy baked side.
Now we enter the territory of extreme flavor obsession, the highly detailed KFC copycat section. This demonstrates an intense cultural desire to reverse engineer brand loyalty and fast food nostalgia.
This section is a masterclass in using available home ingredients as proxies for proprietary, commercially engineered flavor blends. We have recipes for the coleslaw, multiple chicken methods, and the side salads.
Let's start with the Kentucky coleslaw. The process includes a unique preliminary step. Cabbage and carrots are mixed with sugar, salt, and pepper, and then they're drenched with half a cup of milk.
This milk drenching step is critical and often missed in simpler recipes. It tenderizes the cabbage slightly, but more importantly, it locks in moisture before the acidic dressing is added.
Cabbage naturally releases water when it's salted.
Right, but the milk here acts as a buffer and a pre-moistener, preventing the final dressing from thinning out into a watery puddle.
And the dressing components are a classic mix: mayonnaise, buttermilk, celery seed, dry minced onion, and a few drops of hot sauce. It's chilled for an hour and then, importantly, drained before serving.
That draining step ensures the coleslaw retains the thick, seasoned dressing without all the excess liquid. It's a meticulous, multi-stage process just for coleslaw, all driven by the pursuit of that specific KFC crunch and creaminess.
Okay, now let's look at the multiple attempts to replicate the famous fried chicken. 3 distinct versions, all emphasizing different complex techniques, starting with the Colonel Sensor's fried Chex and the KFC almost fried chicken.
Both versions stress patting the chicken completely dry and marinating it overnight with a potent paste. The paste for the Colonel Sensor method, for instance, uses 2 packages of Good Seasons Italian dressing mix.
And that's the key insight, isn't it? The Italian dressing mix is the home cook's proxy for a proprietary seasoning blend. It provides a massive concentrated hit of dried herbs, garlic, onion powder, MSG, and salt that are already perfectly blended and shelf-stable.
Exactly. They're using an off-the-shelf flavor engineering packet to replicate a flavor they can't achieve with individual spices alone.
So in the Colonel Sensor method, the dried chicken is dipped in a milk and club soda mixture,
The carbonation potentially adds a light texture to the batter.
and then lightly dusted with Aunt Jemima pancake mix.
Pancake mix. That suggests a lighter, finer coating that fries up crispier than just plain flour. And the cooking process is a combination. Deep frying at a very high 425 degrees to set the crust, followed by baking uncovered at 350 for 30 minutes to cook it through.
The KFC almost method is similar in the marinating paste, but the coating and cooking phases are a true endurance test.
Oh, it's incredible. The chicken is dipped in milk and coated with pancake mix seasoned specifically with sage, paprika, and pepper.
And then it's pan-fried in a half-inch of oil for 4 minutes per side to get the browning. Then it's sealed with flour, baked at 350 for a full hour, then uncovered, basted with milk, and baked again at 400 for 10 minutes. That is a 7-step cooking process.
That meticulous multi-step process, pan frying for color, sealing for structure, long bake for doneness, and a final milk basting and high heat bake for moisture, it shows a phenomenal dedication to replicating the exact texture and finish of the original.
And the third variation, the KFC Big Bucket in the Sky Chicken, offers a much simpler oven-baked approach, again relying on commercial proxies. The coating uses 2 packages of Lipton tomato soup mix and 2 of dry Italian dressing.
This is the ultimate shortcut flavor bomb. These flavor packets, which have salt, sugar, dehydrated vegetables, and umami agents, are just shaken with the chicken in a bag and then baked with melted butter. It relies entirely on those concentrated flavor packets to penetrate the meat.
So it's an easier replication, but you're probably sacrificing the crust complexity of the fried versions.
I would think so.
Finally, within the KFC section, we have the macaroni or potato salad. The dressing is defined by a blend of multiple creamy bases. Half a cup of sour cream, a cup of Hellmann's mayonnaise, and half a cup of Miracle Whip.
This is the crucial defining flavor engineering of the American deli counter. They aren't settling for just rich mayonnaise. They are blending Hellmann's, which provides that classic, rich, fat base, with Miracle Whip, which gives it a tannier, sweeter, more spiced flavor profile.
Wait, they use those 2 commercial products and then add 3 tablespoons of refined sugar, along with 2 tablespoons of prepared mustard.
Yes.
That's not just a salad dressing. That's an engineered flavor bomb designed for maximum sweet and sour nostalgia.
It is the pursuit of that quintessential, almost artificial, flavor depth that defines comfort food sides. It hits every flavor point simultaneously: rich, sweet, sour, tangy, and savory.
And the base for the macaroni version is 8 cups of cooked macaroni with celery, pickles, onion, and pimiento. The potato variation just swaps the pasta for potatoes and makes a few other small tweaks.
But the core flavor remains that sugary, creamy, tangy dressing. The highly desired nature of this side rests entirely on mastering that specific, complex, blended commercial flavor profile.
Moving now to Section 5, the sweet side candy bars and cookies. This is a surprising but critical detour. It demonstrates that the obsessive nature of the most wanted recipe hunter will not stop at savory dishes.
No, this moves us from home cooking to literal kitchen chemistry. We start with the Keebler Soft Batch Chocolate Chip Cookies. The goal here is textural perfection, and the secret lies in the precise sugar ratio and using supplemental liquids.
The recipe calls for equal parts granulated sugar and brown sugar, 1.5 cups of each. That 50-50 ratio is essential, right?
It is, because brown sugar, due to the molasses, is hygroscopic. It retains moisture, which is the key to that soft, chewy texture.
But the real technical genius lies in the supplementary liquids. 2 tablespoons of molasses and 1/3 of a cup of water, along with the butter and eggs.
Adding more molasses not only enhances the flavor depth, but structurally, it further inhibits crystallization, contributing significantly to that persistent softness. And the water adds necessary hydration without altering the fat-to-flour ratio too much.
And for leavening, they use a dual action system. A teaspoon of baking powder and 1.5 of baking soda.
A double hit of chemical lift, which ensures a soft, tender crumb structure. And the baking instructions are so specific. Bake at 375 for only 8 minutes.
That high heat, short duration bake is calculated to set the edges quickly, preventing too much spreading while leaving the center gooey and undercooked.
The characteristic soft batch quality.
Now we delve into true technical confectionery with the M&M Mars 3 Musketeers bar, focusing on the nougat preparation, which requires precision tools and chemistry awareness.
This is a major commitment. The syrup is made from sugar, corn syrup, salt, and water. This mixture is boiled until it reaches exactly 270 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, let's unpack the significance of 270 degrees. For a home cook tackling this, why is that specific temperature absolutely critical?
Because temperature dictates texture in candy making. 270 degrees is the firm ball stage. If the temperature were lower, say 240, you'd get a softer, gooier marshmallow. If it were higher, say 300, you'd get brittle, hard candy.
So 270 ensures the resulting nougat will be firm enough to hold its shape, but still have that classic elastic cuiness.
Exactly. And meanwhile, 3 large egg whites are beaten stiffly. The hot 270-degree syrup is then gradually poured onto the beaten whites while continuously beating for an astonishing 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
That's how the nougat structure forms. You are incorporating the extremely hot, concentrated sugar syrup into the protein matrix of the egg whites. The heat cooks the egg whites, and the friction from the beating, combined with the cooling, integrates the sugar solids into the protein network, resulting in that stable, light, marshmallow-like foam.
After all that, 1/3 of a cup of semi-sweet chocolate morsels is added. The bar is pressed, chilled, cut, and individually dipped in 24 ounces of melted milk morsels.
And the M&M Mars almond bar adds 2 more layers of complexity. Caramel and almonds, built upon a very similar, though slightly smaller, nougat base.
The nougat process is nearly identical, using 2 egg whites, and the sugar syrup boiled to that critical 270 degrees. Once the nougat firms up, 2/3 of a cup of roasted whole almonds are blended in, forming the dense base layer.
Then layer 2 is the caramel. They use 35 unwrapped cracked caramels, melted with water in a saucepan. The recipe calls for using a commercially pre-made caramel as a shortcut.
Which makes sense. That's where the home cook draws the line between commitment and sanity.
Right. And the bar is chilled again, cut, and finally dipped in the melted chocolate. What stands out is the realization that for these highly desired commercial products, the home cook has to abandon simple methods and embrace precision technology, like a sugar thermometer, to truly replicate the texture.
The pursuit of craveability here is structural. It's not just about flavor. It's about chew, density, and that specific snap of the chocolate coating. Okay, let's wrap up our deep dive with Section 6. Briefly highlighting the structure and flavor combinations of the remaining full salad and unique dressing recipes. We see a spectrum from high-end gourmet construction to simple, rustic, brine-focused salads.
The La Jolla salad is clearly a sophisticated gourmet creation, likely from a high-end restaurant menu. The components are mixed greens, radicchio leaves filled with lump crab meat, large shrimp, and fresh papaya slices. It's an exercise in complex flavor and textural contrast.
Sweet fruit, savory seafood, bitter radicchio. And the vinaigrette supporting this is, as you'd expect, complex. It uses both red and white wine vinegar, Dijon mustard, lime juice, pure honey, and an egg yolk for emulsification.
But look at the sheer herb load. Tarragon, basil, oregano, parsley, a full tablespoon of fresh chopped dill weed, and a crushed garlic clove. That level of fresh and dried herbs creates an incredibly aromatic symphony designed to complement the delicate seafood.
And that tiny optional note 1 drop of food coloring is so telling. Even in these complex gourmet recipes, presentation and visual appeal are absolute priorities for a most wanted dish.
In stark contrast, we have la rinforzata, the Neapolitan cauliflower salad. This is a savory, brine-focused side that relies entirely on pungent, strong components.
The components are blanched cauliflower florets combined with red onion, black olives, green olives, gherkins, 2 tablespoons of capers, and a surprising 8 anchovies.
And the dressing is incredibly simple. Olive oil and white wine vinegar with basil, salt, and pepper. The anchovies, capers, gherkins, and olives provide all the necessary salt and umami. The dressing is just the vehicle.
The instruction is to pour the dressing over, stir, and occasionally stir again while chilling. That ensures the brine from the pungent components thoroughly penetrates the cauliflower, making it an intense, satisfying side dish.
And finally, the roasted red pepper and chive dressing gives us an excellent example of maximizing flavor through initial processing. Roasted red peppers, garlic, and red wine vinegar are pureed in a processor.
Then, a cup of olive oil is gradually added while processing continuously until it's emulsified. That gradual addition of oil is the non-negotiable step for any stable vinaigrette.
And fresh chives are stirred in last, providing a crucial, grassy freshness to contrast the sweet, smoky pepper base.
What stands out across this entire collection is just the sheer breadth of culinary commitment, from simple hot dressings thickened with egg yolks to multi-day vinegar infusions, and even that highly technical confectionery requiring precise temperature control to hit 270 degrees.
It shows that people are obsessed with not just cooking, but mastering the specific flavors they encounter in the world, whether that's in a white tablecloth restaurant or on a supermarket shelf.
Okay, so let's unpack this ultimate takeaway. The common thread running through all these most wanted recipes, whether it's the half teaspoon of MSG in the buttermilk dressing, the molasses and extra water in the soft batch cookies, or the complex layering in the almond bar, is the pursuit of intensity and stability.
That's it. These recipes aren't just lists of ingredients. They're detailed, sometimes obsessive, instructions on achieving maximum craveability.
They teach us that achieving these deeply beloved flavors often requires stepping beyond simplicity.
Whether that means using dual emulsifiers like avocado and tofu, or utilizing chemical proxies like Italian dressing mix and tomato soup powder, or blending commercial products like Hellmann's and Miracle Whip to hit that specific, nostalgic, sweet and sour depth.
The willingness to commit to the technique, no matter how complex, like the Bain Marie or the 6-day steep, is what defines the true flavor fanatic.
Absolutely.
So we've seen that the term dressing can apply to liquid sauces, savory poultry fillings, and even a highly engineered fast food coleslaw. Considering the meticulous nature of recreating these most wanted flavors and the surprising level of complexity required, what comfort food flavor profile that you currently buy pre-made are you most tempted to try and engineer from scratch? And what unusual ingredient like MSG or a specific commercial seasoning packet do you think is the secret key? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.